everyone.
Wonderful.
Can you hear me?
Wonderful. We can hear you.
Perfect. Well, so
Wonderful.
happy to be here. My name is Bella. I am the co-founder of Living Outside.
That's so amazing.
And my name is Arden, and I am also the co-founder of Living Outside, and we're so excited to be here with you today.
That's so amazing. So I am Lord Christus, and I'm also a mining maintenance engineer. We're so glad you're here. So who is going to make the presentation?
Arden and I are gonna switch off on kind of walking you through some prepared slides, and then we have some time for questions at the end if anyone has any.
Wonderful. So you can go ahead.
Thank you. So we wanted to talk today about advocacy in informal spaces, specifically about homelessness. So Living Outside is a nonprofit organization that Bella and I co-founded with sort of a twofold purpose. The first is to directly help people in need with aid. And so we provide care bags with items like food and water, hats and gloves, stamped postcards, and a pen to reach out to a loved one, and other necessities like that. And what's really special about these care bags is instead of dropping them off at a shelter or a third-party like donation center, our volunteers are at the forefront of handing these care bags out and directly engaging with the people that we are serving, hearing their stories, talking to them, and yeah, directly engaging with those who live outside. And the other part of our mission focuses on destigmatizing homelessness, especially among youth and teens. So with this direct interaction comes the opportunity to talk to someone, and a lot of times, domiciled individuals hold preconceived biases about homelessness that we may or may not know that we hold. And by being able to directly interact with someone and have a conversation and see the humanity, and connect over your shared humanity, one by one, those conversations build up and help lessen stigmas that we may hold. And specifically, our focus is on youth and teens because stigma is something that is learned. It is not innate. It is something that we observe from the way that people around us and adults in our lives interact with people living outside. And so, if we focus on targeting destigmatization at a young age, students and youth will grow up to become passionate change makers and advocates, and be able to recognize injustice. So, why is this problem significant? Well, 150 million people worldwide experience homelessness, and in the United States, in 2024, the number was just over 700,000. And these people have basic necessities that need to be met, and so this looks like food and water and shelter, but a lot of it also looks like human connection. And there's a lot of stigma that surrounds homelessness. Sometimes it is our natural instinct to look the other way or cross the street to avoid walking past someone who lives outside. And all of these contribute to the stigma that surrounds homelessness. And this stigma greatly impacts the quality of life that people experience when they are living outside. So, as we talked about before, some people volunteer their time at a soup kitchen, and others like to just financially donate and sort of take hands off. But then they see someone living on the street and they cross the street and they look the other way and they divert their attention and they ignore. And so, advocacy in formal spaces like volunteering or donating does not translate into advocacy in informal spaces. So, our solution is to give domiciled individuals an opportunity to provide curated aid to those living outside while using this as a vehicle, using this direct interaction as a vehicle for stigma reduction. And at Living Outside, we prioritize inefficiency. So instead of giving one person 100 care bags to hand out, we give 100 people one care bag to hand out because that means 100 conversations are happening. And that is the start to 100 authentic relationships built. And that is the start to 100 personal stigmas being lessened.
So, for all of you on this call, we really want to encourage you to think about whatever issue it is that you are passionate about. How does that advocacy translate into informal interactions? And it is incredible that you are passionate about being a supporter and a friend to a certain issue within a confined space. And yet, the real work, the real impact, the real acknowledgement and support and growth happens in those one-to-one conversations that we cannot predict. And to back up this idea and kind of help you understand why in homelessness that direct acknowledgement is so important, but in general, these informal interactions are so shifting towards real change on a legislative sphere, on a social sphere, we have some research to kind of showcase quickly. So first of all, what's already out there? Well, laws criminalizing homelessness are on the rise. From data in 2024, a case study in Los Angeles found that laws pertaining to camping, begging, loitering, sleeping, all were on the rise. As you can see, their incremental percentage increases. Americans have an instinctive response to visible poverty that creates laws that restrict the visibility of people who are struggling in physical spaces. So what does that manifest itself as? Well, here's the thing. If we have these laws that criminalize homelessness and make it really difficult for people to feel like they are neighbors and they are able to interact on a one-to-one level in these informal interactions, how are we going to make sure that we can create policy change one day? Or how are we going to make sure that we can get people the resources they need so they can get the support that will help them be their best versions of themselves? So what is the gap in this research body? Well, I conducted a study to figure out whether or not individual interactions one to one were helpful in destigmatizing homelessness. And what that means is, were negative perceptions lessened after these more informal interactions versus simply volunteering or making a financial contribution, as Arden mentioned at the beginning? So there were a lot of different questions. We had 43 respondents. Some qualitative questions, some quantitative questions, and the data really found, if we take a look, that there was actually a statistically significant difference in people's attitudes and perceptions towards homelessness before and after directly creating and directly distributing that care bag. And you can see the numbers here, and I'll let you kind of look at that on your own if you're interested. But as we look here, there were adjectives that people were asked to describe in general the homeless population, right? And over time, there were positive adjectives that either increased or stayed constant because people had this experience of direct interaction. Similarly, there were adjectives that were more negative pertaining, and these adjectives stayed constant or decreased. Going to the next page, we had some qualitative responses that showed that people were very open to the experience. It was heartwarming. It made me feel more motivated to make care bags. It's really nice to be able to get to make someone's day. I would 100% do it again. It was a touching and special thing that I feel grateful to be a part of. The experience was eye-opening and it brought me closer to my community. And what does this say? It identifies a real gap in all forms of advocacy, because if we think about the way that many nonprofits are set up and community service, oftentimes the act of doing good is confined. It's confined to a time period, it's confined to a space, it's confined to a physical location. And sometimes the most important thing we can do to further a cause and be an advocate ourselves is taking a step back and thinking about how we can bring that advocacy into informal spaces, into one-on-one interactions. So, in a snapshot, what we found from this research that I conducted is that direct interaction can be a vehicle for stigma reduction. What does this mean for you? Direct interaction in whatever issue that you are passionate about, whether it's homelessness or something else, can sometimes be the key to actually making the difference that you hope to create. And additionally, we have some experts backing up this finding. So specifically, in terms of homelessness, researchers have found that virtually any kind of exposure has been found to erode stereotypes and render attitudes more positive. What does this mean? Encouraging individuals to create and distribute more care bags can diminish negative perceptions of homeless people that they have acquired. And what does this mean on a greater level? It means that we don't have to take stigmatization at face value. We don't have to confine to stereotypes and think about the fact that if everyone thinks one thing, there's nothing we can do to erode that opinion. Instead, we have to be thinking a little bit differently, and we have to be approaching advocacy from a people-first perspective.
So, what is next, and what does this mean for you? You can visit our website, livingoutside.org/get involved, and we have resources for students, adults, families, and anything like that. But really, as we saw, having interactions can contribute to lessening stigmas that we may or may not know that we hold. And so finding ways to directly interact with people living outside is the main thing that is going to be really powerful in translating advocacy from formal spaces into informal spaces. Now, sometimes you might not have a care bag on you. If that is something that you want to make with resources that we have on our website or items that you just personally think that you would like to include, you can create care bags, take them with you whenever you're walking outside or driving downtown, and hand them out to people. But oftentimes we don't have that on us. But that doesn't mean that we can't still directly interact. We all have the power to smile at someone, to wave at someone, to say hi. If we have time to stop for a conversation and say, hey, how are you doing? How has your day been? And these direct interactions not only help people who are living outside have human connection, because that is something that they lack, but also those are direct interactions that help lessen stigmas that we hold. And so livingoutside.org/get involved has tons of resources available to you, but we never want you to think that you don't have anything to give because at the end of the day, we all have the power to acknowledge someone, and that in itself is something that we can give. So we want to open it up to questions now. If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to type them into the chat.
Well, actually, we're right here. We're not gonna. I'm just gonna chat. Gord, Chris, is just jump in at any time you want. Um, so this is fascinating. This is very good. Congratulations to both of you on what you're doing. I just have a question though. What was your biggest challenge in creating this? Your biggest hurdle you had to overcome?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can take that. So I think Arden and I started creating care bags pretty informally during the pandemic, and it was mostly because we had a lot of time on our hands and we saw an issue in front of us and wanted to help. And we didn't know the right way to go about it. And we definitely were very new to advocacy at the time, but we just wanted to do something with the time and the resources that we had. And very soon after the pandemic subsided and we started telling people about our idea, we started collecting direct feedback, asking people what we could include in these care bags to make them as helpful as possible. People loved the idea. They said they would love to donate the care bags on our behalf, and they asked us where they could bring them. Could they bring them to a shelter? Could they bring them to a school? And we shared that we'd prefer for them to keep them in their car, keep them in their backpack, keep them in their work bag. And all of a sudden, the excitement kind of dissipated. People were very uncomfortable with that idea of not just taking an item and being a middleman and transporting it to another place, but actually being the distributor themselves. And in that moment, I think Arden and I realized that the true purpose of living outside, on top of the direct aid that we provide and the resources that we hope to give others, is that we are here to create environments where people can directly interact with the people that they are serving. And oftentimes that is something that is forgotten, and it is a very important in our eyes, a very important step to creating relationships, to creating a public sphere where policy change can actually happen. Because if people aren't willing to talk to those that they're helping, they're not going to vote for those people. They're not going to be in favor of legislative solutions that really help address systemic issues. And I think having that realization and overcoming that barrier of people not being open to direct distribution was something we're still experimenting with, but has been an incredible process and has brought us to where we are today.
Very good. Very impressive. Congratulations. Good work.
Wonderful.
Wonderful.
Jake, I think I have something to say.
Please.
Okay, very good. So, I think this is a very good thing you're doing, and I'm sure everybody should be okay with this. I'm very impressed, and thumbs up. I think I have a friend, and she owns a foundation that is the Needing My Consent Foundation here in Ghana. I think it's among the top 10 foundations that what they do is to make sure everybody's happy, especially the homeless, those that are seen as the needy. They are supposed to be happy. I'm sure you can share with me a few pictures, maybe to my mail, so that I can. I think next week we're going on TV. Maybe I can show that to the Ghanaians, and maybe I can start printing some and giving it out. Yes. So share with me some of your logos and everything. When I get to my office, I'm sure I'll paste some on my walls over there. Let everybody see that. I think that's a very good work. Thanks for that.
Good, good. If you want, if you contact Gift and you have our email address, we have Lord Chris's email. We can pass it along to you. Very good.
Thank
That
Excellent.
sounds
you.
great.
Bella and Arden, you're now international.
Yeah, that would be incredible. Thank you so much. That would be truly amazing.
Great, great. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. But now we have to move on because our next presenter is here and all ready to present.
Thank you so much. Have a
Thank
great day.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.